Time it took you to buy your ticket. 3.2 minutes. Time it took you to get your popcorn. 2.5 minutes. Time it took them
Oh, let's go.
to steal your car.
Hello, ladies.
60 seconds.
Move, go.
Come on, Sway, baby, work your magic. Hold on, I know you ain't gonna do what I think you gonna do.
Stop!
You're gonna have to go old school. A day to shop, a day to prep. Surprise attack.
Nice.
Little trick I learned in the car thief retirement home.
By the time the first car's reported stolen,
All this.
your ship set sail. We do this, we do it my way.
Ayers was a sucker for a redhead.
You break it, you buy it, my friend.
Okay, let's run.
Gone in 60 seconds.
What do you think is more exciting, having sex or stealing cars?
Welcome to the latest episode of the B Movie Club. I'm your host, Kevin. This week we're discussing the 2000 action flick, Gone in 60 Seconds, starring Nicolas Cage, Robert Duvall, Angelina Jolie. It's an all-star cast. For those of you joining us for the first time, each week on the B Movie Club, I discuss certain guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the past. Go ahead and go to our page on Facebook, Original B Movie Club, and give us the big thumbs up. Also, you can subscribe on our page on YouTube at KD9575. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at The B Movie Club. So there you have it. You do all those things. You get the latest updates anytime I post a new video. Anytime I find a particularly B-movie-ish link, I just pass it on to you. So hope you appreciate it, after all. Don't forget to spread the word. The more the merrier, I always say. Good times. Gone in 60 seconds. In this movie, Memphis Reigns is a retired car thief who now runs like one of those go-kart tracks up north, Northern California somewhere. He used to work in Long Beach, and when he left Long Beach, car theft went down by 47%, which seems like a lot to me for one person. Anyway, his younger brother, Kip Reigns, has gotten into the biz with some of his knucklehead buddies. And they made a deal with a British gangster called Raymond Calitri that they would steal 50 cars and make $200,000 for doing so. Unfortunately, they had a problem, mistakes were made, and now Kip's life is in danger. Okay, Raymond Calitri, the gangster, is like, I'm going to kill you unless you solve this problem, essentially. So Memphis has to come out of retirement, come back to Long Beach, and help his ne'er-do-well younger brother steal these cars. But to do it, if he's going to do it, he's got to get his old gang back together. So he calls up his buddy Donnie, who I guess works as trains people for the learn to drive, essentially, at the DMV. He calls up former Flame, Sway, his old girlfriend, who's now also retired. Now she's working as a part-time mechanic, part-time bartender. He's got to go and track down the old chop shop that he used to work with, Otto, ironically named. Now they're not a chop shop anymore. Now they restore old cars. All this stuff is going on. The word is out, however, that Memphis is back in town. And the local detectives, who always felt it was kind of a bummer that Memphis slipped away without them being able to slap the handcuffs on it. Detective Castlebeck and his partner are on the case. They're going to follow him and make sure that if he ever jaywalks or does anything like that, they're going to get him. And then, of course, another gangster. I don't know. He's irritated because that deal for 50 cars should have gone to him. So now he's going to chase down Memphis and his brother Kip whenever possible and try to kill him. There's a lot of things going on here. Okay? They decide that the only way to complete this, they only have like 48 hours now to do this, is to plan out the cars, where they're going to get them, because they're very exotic, okay? These aren't Toyota Camrys, okay? These are high-end cars that there's some billionaire in South America who's requested 50 of these cars, blah, blah, blah. You figure if you're a billionaire, why not just buy them? Why do they have to be stolen cars? Who knows? It's not explained. So they decide they'll plan one day, the next day, with everybody, all hands on deck. Everybody will go out and they will steal the cars all in one night. So by the first time somebody calls to report their car is stolen, the last car is being pushed onto a container truck, a container ship, and they have set sail for South America. So by then it'll be too late. So there's a lot of moving parts to this, a lot of things going on, okay? So one potential hiccup is that there are 3 fancy Mercedes that have laser-cut keys that are supposed to be unstealable. To get around this, they have bribed some guy who works at the dealership to give them copies of the laser-cut keys. Unfortunately, the cops sniffed this out, so now they're waiting at those special Mercedes to get them. There's so much going on here. What are we going to do? The cops are after him. Some other gangsters are after him. And if he doesn't complete the mission in 2 days, the gangster from Great Britain is going to kill him. It's very upsetting. But Nicolas Cage, spoiler alert, he does Nicolas Cage things, okay? And everything seems to turn out okay. So, Gone in 60 Seconds. This was in like a 5 or 6 year period where Nicolas Cage was in these outrageous action movies like The Rock, Con Air, for example. They were all produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, who did all these things. Like previously in the 80s, he did like Top Gun and Days of Thunder. For some reason in the mid to late 90s, early 2000s, Nicolas Cage became his muse. They brought back Robert Duvall to play old crusty Otto, who's the guy who runs the chop shop. He's great as always. Young Angelina Jolie plays Sway, the love interest. She was a big star at this point, but her star was still on the upward swing, as you might imagine. Other actors who were in this, Raymond Calitri was played by British actor Christopher Eccleston, who some of you might know is the 10th Doctor, 9th Doctor on Doctor Who? I don't remember. He's one of the doctors on Doctor Who, so good times. Delroy Lindo plays Detective Castlebeck, his partner Timothy Oliphant, who you might know from Justified, such things like that. Scott Conn plays one of the guys who are out there robbing cars. He's James Caan's son. He's right now on Hawaii Five-0. Giovanni Ribisi, who's been in a ton of things, he plays Kip Raines, Memphis's little brother. It's an all-star cast. What can I tell you? This movie is a very, 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 very loose remake of a mid-70s movie called Gone in 60 Seconds, where it's basically written, directed, starring a guy named H.B. Halicki, who just had a bunch of cars and kind of fabricated a plot to went along with car stealing. It's all very elaborate. They actually had to go and track down his widow to get permission to do this because he died trying to film the sequel because it was all low-budget car chases and things like that. This movie is, in my opinion, it's very entertaining. It's like the first 3/4 of the movie is kind of a heist movie, as you might imagine. And then the last quarter is a massive car chase where it's, okay, there's this car, this legendary car that Memphis Reigns has been trying to steal his entire career. It's like a 67 Mustang Shelby, but every time he's tried to steal it historically, something's gone wrong. You know, some accidents occurred. So it's got a contentious relationship. So the final part of this movie is he finally steals the Shelby, but the cops are on him, so he leads them through a merry chase through Long Beach, which I always love. I work in Long Beach, so it's like when I'm driving the streets, I feel like I'm Memphis Reigns for a moment there, okay? Not really, but you get the idea. They actually had to bring Nicolas Cage in and some of his co-stars to learn stunt driving. They did all their own stunts. Nicolas Cage appreciated it so much that he still kind of fancies himself a race car driver. And most of the scenes in the epic car chase at the end of the movie, most of the action driving was totally improvised.
Baker 11, suspect heading westbound, head east to intercept. One Baker 11, maintain your course. Suspect heading in your direction. Baker 11, he's at the end of the pier turning towards you.
Is he okay? How you doing? Are you all right? Are you okay? Just sit back. You all right?
I think so.
Are you sure? Because you just went through a wall.
They actually had 7 of these Shelby Mustangs. They weren't real Shelby Mustangs. They're far too expensive to use this way. They were replicas. And 5 of them were destroyed. 2 of them, Jerry Bruckheimer, who is the producer of the movie, he kept it, but he keeps it like sealed away because he's afraid to drive it. And Nicolas Cage, kept the other one, and he still drives it all the time, assuming that the IRS hasn't already repossessed it. So, there you go. Good times had by all. Like I said, this movie's a lot of fun. People accuse it of not being high art. It's not. It's got Nicolas Cage as the star, for goodness sake. But it's fun. It's right in that same kind of vein as those other kind of wacky action movies that he's in. Doesn't take itself too seriously. Everybody seems like they're having a good time. What more can you ask for? Critics blasted it, as you might imagine. It actually currently has a 24% run on Rotten Tomatoes. That is what we call in the business ridiculous. It's not Shakespeare, but it's fine. It gets the job done. It's fun. It's exciting. People thought it was kind of boring or old hat. I'm like, come on. It's a car chase movie. What's the complaint? You know what I'm saying? So, check it out. It is currently streaming on Netflix. Let me know what you think. Send any favorite scenes, favorite quotes, questions, and comments. And as always, I may talk about it on the show. Next week, moving away from the action genre, we're going to be doing the comedy masterpiece, the original American Pie, starring Tara Reid, Jason Biggs, a lot of other people, Mina Savari. It's another all-star cast. Eugene Levy. So good times had by all. It is also streaming instantly on Netflix. Send in anything you want to talk about this movie. Don't forget to send in movie suggestions. Any movie I haven't reviewed that you're dying for me to talk about, send it on in. That's what I'm here for, after all. As you know, I end every episode with a totally out of context quote, and here it is. You're like a little ghetto Smurf. So there you have it. Good times had by all. Thank you for joining us. Next week, American Pie. Be well.